Picture this, if you will. You're driving a darkened night highway, the pavement unfurling like the black, empty vein of the earth under your wheels. You're tired, there's an ominous silence. No cars, no lights, just you and the road. But when you move forward, something feels off. You do not know what it is yet, but slowly, you feel it in your bones. The road is alive, and it's not gonna let you get away. O probably assumed this would be one more long ride home. He had been out for the weekend, just a quick getaway to clear his mind. But now the road appeared to go on into infinity. He glanced down at his gas gauge. A quarter tank left. Perfect. He would get home, no problem. But then, the turn. That odd exit he hadn't noticed on the map. It was like roof. It arrived out of nowhere. No harm, right? A detour, maybe a shortcut. He turned. The further he drove, the bumpier the road became under his tires. As for the trees that grew along the road, they weren't just trees. They watched him. Its branches appeared to contort into shapes of unknown dimensions in the review mirror. The road was off. The exit, non-existent. The GPS, back. That same upstairs corner of the road, his pulse quickened. What should have been an off-ramp went awry. Something darker, and that's when I began to panic. He drove and drove. But the further he went, the more familiar everything seemed. Too familiar. He'd passed the same bend, the same bluff of rock. Was this all in his imagination? He checked his phone again. No signal. It was 2 a.m. by his watch, but the sky was suspended in that state of twilight. Never quite dark, never quite light. No hour, no mile, no turn, closer to wherever he had to be. The road was beginning to seem like a little bit of a déjà vu. He was trapped. And then he saw it. 2 lights in the distance. At first, Alex was relieved. Another car, but so did he, and so did they. He looked in the review mirror. The car was right behind him, too close, closer than it had to be. He sped up. They sped up. He swerved left. They swerved left. What the hell was going on? Alex's heart raced in his ears. The car didn't overtake him. It just followed, like something that was preparing for him to fail. Hours had gone by, or perhaps days. Alex was no longer sure, and the path ahead was the same as it had been hours earlier. Time had lost its meaning. It was 3:15 on the dash clock, but the shadows never changed. His body was sore, his head a thick fog of fatigue. Yet each time he thought an exit was just ahead, the road wound around the next bend. It was the same untouched seas that taunted him from its horizon. That sense of being stuck, it was not just physical, it was psychological. He wasn't just lost, he was caught. Then came the voice, soft at first. You know, the wind, kind of like, as if maybe it was only the trees, he thought at first, until it said his name, Alex. His blood ran cold. He glanced back, looking for someone, anyone, and the street was empty. Just empty darkness and the drone of the engine. He pressed down on the accelerator, harder, harder, but the voice only grew more insistent. Alex. It wasn't just the calling him, it was commanding him. Alex, come closer. It was not until the voice ceased that Alex realized the truth. The road wasn't random. It wasn't just a place, it was alive, watching him. The curves, the bends, the turns, all meant to be part of the road's design to hold him in. He was not just driving, he was being driven. The road, it knew the way, the option that he was going out on. The road, it was fanning out like this in front of him, thirsty for him, waiting for him to bite. Alex desperately attempted to twist himself out of the way. All I have to do is go home, he thought, and I can get away from this. He backed up, screeching the tires, working the wheel, but then he reversed fully, and the road in front of him was blocked, and a wall of blackness, dank, viscous darkness that seemed to ooze directly from the soil itself. No streetlights, no stars, just endless shadow. His car wouldn't budge. His exit routes wouldn't let him leave. And then when Alex already thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. A sign, end of the highway. A glint at the corner of his eye ghosted, a glitter. So he eased off the throttle and hoped, really prayed, that he was finally free. But when he signed it, it was just nothing changed. The road stretched on, forever. The sign sparkled into nothingness again. The same unbroken slab of pavement, a black and white stillness. There was no end, no escape. And it's even Alex out there, on that endless highway. How many times he can try to take more beat? How many times he can try to go? The road won't let him go. If you take this stretch, at night out in the middle of nowhere, you may just spot him. One headlight dimming car, one car sinking into fog. But don't stop, don't look too closely, because if you do, next thing you know you're hearing the siren call of the highway. So, what would you do? Would you take a road that never ends, that never lets you leave? If I left out a few other things, tell me in the comments. If you liked this story, visit here to find more horror stories and sign up here to receive fiction news and recommendations. Oh, and by the way, the road is always watching.